listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 219 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a great weekend. Oh, I can honestly say this past weekend was fantastic because I didn't do jack. Sunday specifically. Got up, went to the couch. Lindsay and I caught up on some TV shows on the DVR, which took us to about 3 p.m. And around 4 o'clock, I decided to play some video games for a couple hours, ordered a pizza, watched the Royal Rumble, all while flipping back and forth here and there with the Rolex 24 in between the shows and getting snacks. Sunday was much needed. Loved every single second of it, for sure. Hope you guys got some R&R this weekend as well. Before we get things going, have to give a huge birthday shout out, number 40, to my man, pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin at the PETM podcast. Y'all can't see me, but I've got the glass raised. I know you guys are going to do it right tonight. So happy birthday, Sherwin. Cheers to many more. I'm taking a sip live on air. There we go. Happy birthday, man. And yeah. Man, 40. That's right around the corner for me, too. So it sucks getting old, man. That's for sure. Oh, man. Lap Traffic Nation, can you believe it is season 5 of the show? I can not get over the fact this is year 5. What a journey. If you've been here from the beginning or just found the show, I am so happy that you're here. Thank you for the support. This year is going to be epic. That much I can tell you. There are some things coming down the pipe that are just going to be awesome. I can't wait for some of the stuff that is in the works that is just going to slowly start to come out over the next couple weeks, which is just fantastic, and I'm pumped. Don't forget, the Wave Around hotline this year is open for whatever you want to talk about. You want to leave lucky dog picks? Leave lucky dog picks. You want to leave comments on the race? Leave comments on the race. You want to tell me I suck? Well, call someone else. No, just kidding. Go ahead. I'll play it. And I'll find the right spot on the show to drop in your calls and all that kind of stuff. So that's new this year. I'm excited about that. And some other minor tweaks and stuff like that to the format. Aaron and Brian will be back rotating and all that good stuff, and man, I'm excited. We got Lap Traffic Fantasy. Go register. We are so close to 100 players this year, which would be awesome. I think I need about, less than 20. I think I need like 15 more to hit that 100 mark. So come register, send an email, fantasylaptraffic@gmail.com. You hear all about it on the show. You've seen the tweets. Come play, have some fun. It's free and there's swag on the line. So come play Lap Traffic Fantasy. Woo, man. I'm pumped. I'm jacked for tonight's show. All right. I got to do a little Super Bowl talk. I mean, the big game is this weekend. My man Tom Brady about to pick up another Super Bowl ring with the Bucs instead of the Pats. And that bums me out. Like, you guys know I'm a Patriots fan. Like, I get into I'm still a Patriots fan. I don't even own any Tampa Bay gear. I still sport the Patriots. But, man, I mean, of course it would be Tom Brady to host and play in the Super Bowl. First time ever, right? I mean, that right there alone. How is the first team ever to host and play in the Super Bowl not going to win the Super Bowl? Plus, Brady's got to get some revenge on Mahomes from last year's conference game. It's TB for the win. Man, now I got to talk just another smidge about football, and that's Lions football. For those of you who aren't Lions fans and don't understand the losing history and misery with ownership, the Lions actually made some football-like moves this week, trading Matt Stafford for Jared Goff and some first-round draft picks. Ooh, I'll take that all day. Listen, I like Stafford. I feel bad for the guy. And it's hard to feel bad. I get that for anyone that's got a bank account that's stacked like his. But I feel bad for the competitor in him because, when you go through coaches every 4 years like he has, it's hard to get into that groove. And there's not a winning record in Detroit. There's not a winning way in Detroit. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls a Tom Brady next year, takes the Rams to a playoff and gets some wins. Stafford was here for 12 years. Only made 3 wild card playoff appearances, and they're 0-3. I'm excited for the Lions this year. It is a full, fresh new start. New GM, new coach, new quarterback. I'm not drinking the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid or anything like that, but, we'll see how I feel after 4 games. But I was impressed that the Lions are actually, making some moves. I'm all about that. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed last week's show, the all-truck show that I promoted the hell out of with CJ Wolliver. Man, that was a lot of fun to talk nothing but trucks for 75 minutes. We covered it all. Silly season previews, reviews, predictions, and more, all on the NASCAR Trucks show. It was so much fun. Go check out episode 218 if you haven't already. Might get a few more of these one-off topic shows like that this year. Might be a Tuesday show where I just completely say screw the format and let's talk something unique. Might do some bonus shows. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time, but we'll see. There's going to be some fun this year. That's for sure. All right. I have rambled for 6.5 minutes. What the hell's coming on tonight? Well, tonight, I can tell you, is going to be an awesome show. Tonight's the last night that there's not going to be any actual racing to talk about. Next Tuesday, which is show night, is the Clash. So I'm going to try and kind of hold off recording next Tuesday until during the Clash. That way I can kind of talk about it while I'm doing the show a little bit. I'll break it now. Jeff Striegel is going to be on next week, but Jeff and I are actually going to record on Sunday just because he's traveling Monday, and then they obviously have the Clash Tuesday. So, but I'll mix some stuff in. That's going to happen for sure. Tonight, though, if you've missed the tweets that I've put out over the last 24 hours, Daytona track president Chip Wile is going to be on to talk about his tenure at Darlington, DIS, and all that good stuff, and to hype up the 500. Landon Cassill is going to be on to talk about his new ride in the Xfinity Series and his new e-racing series with Parker Kligerman that he's got going on. And if that wasn't enough, Michael McDowell is going to be on to talk about his offseason and getting ready for 2021. Stack show for you guys. I'm going to bring it as much as I can in Season 5. Let's get things fired up. Let's get Daytona track president Chip Wile on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his Lap Traffic debut. He's got about 20 years in motorsports. He's done marketing, PR. He served as the track president for Darlington, and for the past 5 years, he served as the track president at Daytona. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Chip Wile. Chip, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm awesome, man. I cannot believe that Daytona is right around the corner, man. I am pumped, as I know the listeners are. We're ready to get back to watching some racing and hopefully going to some racing as well, man. Chip, listen, I'm not sure if Russell told you or not, but Daytona was voted Race of the Year by the listeners last year, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, Russell put that in the notes. We have such a passionate fan base, and it's great that even our listeners up in Michigan are supporting us down here in Florida. And the Daytona 500 means so much to so many, and it was great that that was the one that your listeners voted on.
Yes, no, it was very cool for sure, man. Hey, all right, before we get talking real racing here, Chip, I noticed you're a Georgia grad, and our now Lions former quarterback Matt Stafford has been traded from the Lions. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, I mean, he's been there, gosh, since he graduated from Georgia, right? And
yeah.
And then I thought he'd retire a Lion, but I don't know. I always question why the Detroit Lions aren't better than they are, and they have a really good team, and they just can't ever figure out how to gel together. So maybe Matt wasn't the right answer, and they're going to go in a different direction. But he's a great guy. I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times over the years. He came to a couple of races when he was still at Georgia, and so it was neat to see him have success in Detroit. And I know he made it home. Proud to be representing the city and the state, and we'll see what happens next.
I tell you, I liked Matt Stafford. I liked watching him, and like you said, they never could just seem to gel. And man, the Lions there's one thing the Lions do real well, and that's repeat bad trends. So hopefully this will be the shakeup that the team needs to maybe just get something going, because we need it up here. That's for sure. Chip, hey man, what's Chip's story, man? Tell everyone how you got into racing and all that good stuff.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I've been in the sport my whole career. So I grew up in Atlanta, and didn't really follow motorsports as a kid. I went to one race when I was a sophomore, junior in college. It was actually at Atlanta Motor Speedway when it was the last race of the season. I believe Jeff Gordon won the championship that day. All I remember about that day is it was really cold, and I wanted to do something in sports. I love sports. I think it's such a great way to make a career, and had the opportunity to do a lot of different things. And high school and college, different internships and opportunities to expose myself to different sports leagues and events. And I had an opportunity before my senior year of college to go work up in North Carolina for a sports marketing company that only did NASCAR marketing stuff and didn't know anything about the sport. But at the end of that summer, I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life, and had the opportunity to go back and work for that company. And it was fun, man. I remember actually one of my first races was at MIS, and we stayed in Ann Arbor, and I was working for a partner, Hills Brothers Coffee, that in fact, we did a sampling program right there at the racetrack. So we had to get up at like 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
and go make coffee. And then we would go around all these different campgrounds around the property and deliver coffee to the fans as they were waking up. And I remember vividly getting there and getting the coffee brewed and making my first lap around the campground, and there was a group partying their tail off, and I offered them some coffee. They all had some choice words for me, like, "We don't need your coffee, we're partying." And then the next trip around, they had some soldiers that decided it was time to call it quit. But there were a couple guys that were still dialed in. They were still drinking, still carrying on, having a good time. And my final trip around, the sun was starting to come up. There was one guy, and he finally called it quits. And in fact, he called it quits and decided to take a nap right there on the ground, face down in some gravel, with no clothes on. And so
a nap.
I felt like he took a nap with no clothes on. So I thought it would be nice for me to put a cup of coffee next to him, so when he woke up, he'd have something to drink. So I just pumped a cup of coffee, sat it next to him, and carried on with my day. But
that's great.
Our fans, man, they're the greatest fans in all of sports, and they're so passionate about their drivers and the facilities they go to. And then I started there. I worked there for, I don't know, a year and a half, and then I went to work for the race team side, and I traveled for 12 years working for race teams in a number of different capacities, PR, marketing, sponsor services, team management, and then had the opportunity to come work for ISC, who owns all the racetracks, or did. And so I did that. I worked for MRN for like 9 months, and then they moved me to Darlington to lead that team as a president there. And then about 3 years later, I had the opportunity to come to Daytona. And man, the experiences and the opportunities I've had I've just been so lucky. And people are like, "How'd you get here?" And I say this to people all the time: I didn't get to where I am because of anything I've done. I've gotten to where I am in the sport because of the people who have invested in me and given me opportunities, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of this sport, and look forward to hopefully a lot of years left to go where we can continue to build the sport and make an impact.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. I love that. That Michigan story is going to go down here, man. I'll tell you that might get edited and put into some snippets some point down the road. Man, I want to talk about Darlington for a second. During your tenure there, you kind of did a track rebrand and all that. And I mean, who doesn't love Throwback Weekend? Can you talk a little bit about the thought process behind that, and can you believe how big that's taken from a fan base perspective?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Darlington Raceway is arguably one of the most important facilities in the world, and from a motorsports perspective, it's our Wrigley Field, and it just, there's something about Darlington, a lot like Daytona. When you go there, it's something special, and when I got there, it was surviving, it wasn't thriving, and I was 34 at the time, didn't know any better, first job as a track promoter, and we kind of dreamed up this idea, and Darrell Wolf, who's my boss, actually had this idea for a long time and brought it to me, and didn't really give a lot of context around it. Just, hey, I think we could figure this out. And we had a team there that bought in right away. And it took us about 2 years to really bake it out. And we literally went to every single stakeholder in the business. So we went to NBC. We went to every race team. We went to every partner. We went to everybody we could talk to and tell the story, and just got buy-in. And it kind of snowballed. And the nice thing about the throwback weekend was we didn't put a lot of barriers around it, or we gave people a framework of what we would like it to be and let them make it their own. And I think that's what made it so special. When they showed up for the first throwback weekend on Labor Day weekend in 2015, the goal was to have about 8 to 10 cars that were in the throwback scheme. I think we had all but 2.
Yeah.
And everybody showed up in their garb, and NBC bought in, and everything at the racetrack really fit the mold. It was just, it really paid homage to how we got to where we were. And every sport has a weekend or a facility where they pay tribute to their roots, and certainly Darlington Raceway is that for us. So it's just a natural fit, and I think the industry bought into it and really made it their own and had a lot of fun with it. And I think when you travel 38 weekends a year, you get into a routine, and you kind of lose sight sometimes of how cool your job is. And I think this really re-energize the industry, in a time of the season where everybody's just trying to click off races. All right, we got to go to Darlington. Okay, we got to go to Richmond. Okay, we got to go, so they can really get to the playoff. And I think this really was a nice opportunity to break that up. And certainly, it's done great things. And I think it's really shed a light on how important the folks that really paved the way for us to all have an opportunity to work in the sport are. And there are a lot of folks that people wouldn't have known otherwise, right? So the Richard Pettys of the world, and the Rick Hendricks of the world, and the Lee Pettys of the world, but there are a lot of folks that have really kind of surfaced through this program that wouldn't have otherwise had an opportunity to be highlighted. And I think that's what makes it so special.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great history lesson for some of the newer fans, post 2000 to current, to get a quick history lesson on some of the older drivers and all that. Absolutely, man. That's awesome. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go to Darlington as a fan during throwback weekend. Sometimes we go, I do this as take the show. Sometimes I go as a fan, and that was one of the ones you got to go experience that as a fan. And man, I'm so glad I did with the PETM podcast a couple years ago. That was a great time, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so fun to get different people's perspectives on it.
Absolutely. All right, the big one, the 500 is coming up, days away. Speed Week's right around the corner. Speed Week now, I guess. I always want to pluralize that. When you look back at last year's, scary finish, then 3 weeks after Daytona, the world shuts down, the season gets put on hold. I know it can be cliche to say, how excited are you about the upcoming season? But I think that's more appropriate now than ever to ask that question based on where we're at today. So do you feel more hype behind getting the 2021 season underway in the Daytona 500?
It's different. And I've actually thought a lot about this the last couple of weeks, because every Speed Week is different, and it has its own challenges and its highlights. And it's such an important event for our industry, for our company, for our facility, that each event, each 500 kind of takes a life of its own. Last year was really special. We hosted the sitting president of the United States and the First Lady. It was a fantastic race, all the way to the end. And I think it was. We really were building the momentum of NASCAR as we kicked off the season. And then to your point, 3 or 4 weeks later, the world shut down. But I actually think that 2020 will go down as one of the biggest years for NASCAR.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is because we were able to improve our position in professional sports last year in every category, right? So if you look at it from any metrics, ratings were flat where everybody else was down double digits. We were definitely able to be a leader in some social justice issues that I think we were able to take a leadership position in, which is a big deal. First sport back with live content at Darlington Raceway, 2 months after the pandemic started. First sport back with live attendance. And we're able to sustain that through the season. We were able to finish our season on time without any interruption. All of those things are, like, in themselves a huge deal, but to be able to do them all, I think just showed the rest of the world, who we are and what we're about. And I think we're building that, and that momentum is really carried through the off season as we gear up for the Daytona 500. So, unfortunately, we're not going to have 101,000 people sitting in the stands watching the 40 greatest drivers take the green flag for the 63rd running of the Daytona 500. That hurts me. That hurts all of us. Like, that hurts my team, because this is why we get up every day. We get up every day to make sure that we provide the right experience for our fans and create memories. And unfortunately, this year it's going to look different. But the thing that is constant is that the Daytona 500 still is our sport's biggest event. It still is one of sport's biggest events. And so we've been focused on how we can make the event feel big, even without 150,000 people on the property. And so for us to do that, we've had to band together and come get creative. But I think people will see when they tune in live on Fox, or if they have the opportunity to be, the part of the limited fan base that's going to be able to watch it in person, that it still will have that feel that only the Daytona 500 can provide. And it's an incredible thing that's hard to describe, but we all know that we have a responsibility as being a part of this facility to create that vibe and that experience for fans. So I mean, a long-winded answer to say I'm excited about the 2021 season because of the momentum that we were able to build in 2020.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I feel you. Just to piggyback off some of that, I love some of the on-the-fly changes that NASCAR was able to make that worked, that got positive reaction from the fan base. Leading into this year with an overhaul in the schedule, new tracks and all that kind of stuff. To your point of NASCAR, kind of carrying momentum, it's definitely going through, and I hope the same success is there from ratings, and when fans are able to go, that we continue that upward trajectory for sure. Also unique this year, kicking things off, Daytona hosting back-to-back race weekends. The hype around the office has to be pretty strong with that going on, eh?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately with the pandemic, California doesn't have the opportunity to host a race this year, which is hugely disappointing for our company. We have a ton of race fans out in Southern California, but because of the restrictions, it just wasn't going to be feasible for us to take the industry out there. So, for us to be able to have back-to-back weekends here in Daytona, one being on the oval and then the next one being on our famed road course, will be really exciting. And I think we saw last year, Chase Elliott, was able to come from the back, and I actually rewatched the race the other day just to try to refresh. He had an issue and had to come down pit road and had to fight through the field. So it's an exciting race. It's a very technical road course. It's fast. It's got some very tight turns. We obviously added that chicane coming out of turn 4 to give it a different look and feel than the Rolex 24 and the other events that we host on the road course. So it's got a life all its own. We're going to run a different car this year. It's going to be the high downforce package with the 750 horsepower power plant in it. So a lot of the stuff that they learned last year won't apply. I'll tell you, being a part of the Busch Clash next Tuesday night is going to be a huge deal because those 23 drivers will have an opportunity to learn some stuff 35 laps around our road course that they can roll into the next weekend with and have a competitive advantage. There'll be no practice. There'll be no qualifying. They're going to line them up and race. So those guys that had the opportunity to get some laps around there certainly will have the competitive advantage going into to Sunday's road course event.
Absolutely. All right, Chip. Denny Hamlin's looking to go for 3 in a row and make history. Tom Brady's looking to make history this weekend. Should I put a parlay bet on Hamlin and the Bucks coming up?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I think you got a better chance of the Bucks than Denny Hamlin because there's so many things that have to go right for Denny to get back to victory lane. And he's certainly proven he knows how to win the Daytona 500. He's done it 3 times. But to go back to back to back would be an enormous feat, and it's never been done. So I think if anybody can do it, Denny can. But it's just everything has to line up perfectly for you to have a shot to win the Daytona 500. And he's had obviously 3 great races where he's been in the right position with a couple of laps left to go. I wouldn't put it past him, but I'd bet the field.
I like that. Chip, listen, I know that the race is sold out for the fans that you are able to allow, but tell everyone the website where they can get tickets for races down the road, plug the sponsor, social media, do all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, sure. So we're sold out for the 500, but your listeners that listen this weekend want to get out of the cold Northeast or the Midwest to come down next week. We have still tickets available for the Busch Clash, still tickets available for the blue-green vacation duels on Thursday night that'll set the field for the Daytona 500. The NextEra Energy 250, the Truck Series opener on Friday night. We still have tickets available for that. And then there's a doubleheader on Saturday. The Arkman Art Series will be in action with the Lucas Oil 200 at 1 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock, the Xfinity Series stars will be into action with their series opener, Beef It's What's for Dinner 300, and we have tickets available for that doubleheader as well. So DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com, greatest place to make sure you get your tickets and plan your visit to the World Center of Racing.
Absolutely love it. Man, Chip, thank you so much for calling into the show tonight. I really appreciate it. Lap Traffic Nation, big thanks to Chip, track president with Daytona. Chip, hope you and the staff are staying as sane as possible as things get going here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to getting down to Daytona here maybe in the next year or two, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Lap Traffic Nation, how cool was Chip Wile? Man, you guys, if you've listened for a while to the show, you know that I love to have tracks on. I'm trying to, all right, so MIS, Chicago, Martinsville, Homestead, Daytona, man, and I know there's one, who else? Fontana, Auto Club Speedway. Man, there have been a lot of tracks that have come onto the show. I absolutely love talking to the tracks. I love hearing what they're doing, and it's just awesome. It's great content is what I feel. So that was great to get Chip on. Can't wait to get DIS and Chip back on down the road again for sure. All right. We're just going to keep rolling with this stack show tonight. Let's get Landon Cassill on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 4th appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He is the driver of the number 4 with JD Motorsports. Welcome back to the show, Landon Cassill. Landon, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, Brandon. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. And second of all, how about how far you've come since the last time I was on this show?
Man, it's been a minute, and man, thank you, man. It's year 5. I'm excited to kick this thing off with a bang. I'm excited to have been able to survive this long because, everyone's doing podcasting, and to stay relevant and fresh, at least I think I am, and all that. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited to have you back on the show, man.
That's great, man. That's awesome. Yeah, you got a good deal going.
Appreciate that, man. Listen, all right, let's get into it, man. New announcement came out last week that you'll be driving full-time in the Xfinity Series with JDM. This is going to be your first full season in Xfinity since 2014, and that was also your first full year in Xfinity. Talk about the partnership and all that stuff and how this all came to play.
Yeah, I mean, really, Johnny called me over the off-season and said, hey, let's get the band back together. And, I felt like he he's got a really good group of drivers with Jeffrey and Colby and Ryan, and he kind of just wanted to complete the set and see that 4-car run well again. So last year he had, a rotating group of drivers that all did a really good job for him, but I think that the team really benefits the most by just having a consistent guy in the seat. So hopefully we can see some good performance this year. I know that the cars are some of the nicest cars that I've seen come out of that shop, and hopefully we can find some sponsorship along the way as well.
You've been around both series for quite some time. I know everyone kind of asks, what's the difference in the cars and all that kind of stuff. But when you are going to make that full switch back to the Xfinity series, is it going to be any type of an adjustment for you early on, getting comfortable and all that back in the Xfinity car?
Hopefully not, just because I've actually spent a lot of time in Xfinity cars over the last couple of years, just with the work that I did with Morgan Shepherd. And so I do feel like I've stayed sharp on what those cars need. And really, they're very similar to what the low downforce Cup cars are and what they need. So they just don't have as much grip as the Cup cars do. They still have inspection heights. And the rules really haven't changed that much. So, the cars that we're going to be racing this year, the way they're set up and the way the characteristics of those cars is pretty similar to what they've been for the last 5 or 6 years. So I think that helps a lot for me to be able to get right back into it. But like I said, I've been relevant in Xfinity cars in the last couple of years.
Sure.
In terms of the laps that I've made in Morgan's stuff. So I feel like going back to these racetracks, it's not going to be too much different. It's just going to be a matter of getting dialed in at JD Motorsports, and as well as doing it in the race and not necessarily in practice, because we don't have practice for the majority of the schedule.
Yeah, no. So is that something? Are you a fan of that? Are you the one that would like practice? Are you cool with it? Do you like the limited practice and qualifying that they're doing?
I think I'm a fan of no practice. Just because I think that it really pushes the team and can allow me to push the team to make sure that our cars are where they need to be when we unload on Friday or on Saturday.
Yeah, right.
And I say unload on Friday because that's what you usually say when it comes to practicing.
Yep.
But now we're unloading on Saturday and we're racing. So I think it really pushes the teams to be right when they unload on race day. And then I think it pushes me to be prepared and to not feel like, oh, okay, I don't really have to think about anything until I get to my practice. I'll just wait and see what the car feels like in practice. Where this is like, hey, we need to be ready and know exactly what we got on race day. And also I think it's going to be good for me as a driver and really other drivers in a sense that you got what you got. If the car is too loose when the race starts, you're going to have to figure it out.
Right.
And we're normally, if your car is too loose I've had this happen many times where the balance of the car isn't where I wanted it on Friday. So, maybe I steer the team in a direction, and then by Saturday I realize, oh man, we overdid it, or we went too far, where now I think you just got what you got. And so you kind of have to bring a good car and trust what you brought.
Right, yeah, because obviously there's only so much in terms of tightening up or loosening up that you can do on pit road during, stage break cautions and cautions
right.
that come out. It's not like you can climb underneath the thing and make those types of adjustments. We're talking, some air pressure, wedge, minor things that aren't as big a swings as if they were pulling it in the garage after 10 laps of practice, right?
Exactly.
Well, listen, man, I got to ask. So everybody knows on the show, Aaron Studwell, he calls in every other week with weather updates along with Brian Newdorf, longtime friend of the show. Him and Brian will be back, of course, this year. Unique pairing with you and Aaron as Aaron looks to expand his weather consulting business into NASCAR and motorsports. How in the hell did you two get hooked up from a driver PR side of things?
Well, I think that honestly, it's just for me, it's just looking for talent, and Aaron is a talented guy, and he knows what he's doing, and I think that I firmly believe that he has skills that are beyond weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that he believes that too. So his consulting business has services beyond just that. So we're working together this year to hopefully find some sponsorship and get things going. And I've got high hopes for him. I think he's going to do a wonderful job.
Absolutely. He's got a passion for the sport, unmatched. While he may be in the sport and working with you as a driver, he still has that fan passion, which is why I'm doing this podcast and all that. And that goes a long way, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he's got a following too. I mean, he's a relevant voice on social media.
Yeah.
People trust him and believe him, and I think there's no reason not for any other driver or team or somebody, other companies that need his services to take a look at Exo Consulting. So I feel like maybe I'm the smart guy. Hopefully, the smart guy that is
for sure.
Is maybe the one of the first ones to just take a hard look at him and say, hey, yeah, let's see what you got.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, man, listen, we're just a couple weeks out from Daytona. It was a crazy 2020 with the pandemic and an extra off season and all that kind of stuff. Has this off season felt longer, shorter? Are you more excited to get behind the wheel and get things fired up, or do you need a few more weeks still?
I will say the off season has felt like a long off season. I don't know if it's felt that way for other people, but it just feels like it's just really unique. It feels really weird. It feels like a different type of NASCAR, a different type of schedule. We're still kind of continuing into this sort of pandemic mentality where the schedule is abbreviated or whatever you want to call it, with no practice. And obviously we're going to be limited on tracks that we see fans and don't see fans, but pretty soon I'm sure it's going to open up as the world opens up, and we'll be right into it.
Absolutely, for sure. How's the team forming around? Yeah, you guys got your pit crew chief, car chief, all that kind of stuff lined up?
Well, I'm leaving that up to Johnny. He knows how to assemble a team, but obviously I'll be working with Brian Berry this year and just the whole crew there at JD Motorsports, and they're they've just done such a good job and come a long ways in the last few years. So I'm excited to get the Gaffney Keach Mafia back together.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. So listen, we got some new tracks on the schedule this year. Which one, two are you most excited about going to?
Man, I think that I'm excited to tackle the road courses this year. Obviously COTA is going to be exciting. I'm really excited to go there. I think I'm going to come to the road courses more prepared than ever. So, I'd say that one's definitely circled on my radar.
Awesome. All right. Now you got to tell me, are you a fan of racing on some dirt at Bristol?
Not really.
That's been a common response, man. I think from a fan perspective, we're excited just to see, what that brings. Like it's going to be a show, whether it's a good show, bad show, it's going to be a show. And man, I'm curious to see if Tykes change after that, but that's going to be an interesting weekend. That's for sure, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very entertaining.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and honestly, that's fine too. I don't know. I shouldn't say this, but I don't know if it's going to be of great quality. But I don't know what is quality. I guess it's probably going to be a great race. The race for the win is probably going to be great. The mid-pack racing is going to be unpredictable. If nothing else, because you have a bunch of drivers that are just experiencing something new.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And teams,
there's no notebook.
There's no notebook, and you have teams that are experiencing new things. They have cars that aren't built for dirt racing. I think the racing is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be entertaining. So I don't think that it's going to be a failure by any means. I think the only rub for me on it is just like our cars aren't dirt cars. Like, you know, I have a great appreciation for dirt late models and sprint cars and dirt modifieds. Like the technology that those teams have developed on those cars over the last 30 years is really incredible. The way that the rear end housing moves under the car and the way that they use the drivetrain to lift the car off the ground and drive force into the ground to create grip. Like it's unbelievable what those guys come up with. And so, you know, in my mind, it's like to put a truck arm car on dirt and call it dirt racing doesn't serve real dirt racing any justice. I hear where you're coming from. Absolutely. So, but that doesn't take it to me. I hope that I can say that without taking anything away from the fact that it's going to be a tremendous race. It's going to be great racing, and it's going to be extremely entertaining to watch. Absolutely.
That is a given for sure. Listen, man, aside from racing on the track, you and Parker Kligerman have put together a little mini iRacing series that picked up some traction last year, and it's looking to come back bigger and better this year. Talk a little bit about the e-racer series and the Carnomaly 500 coming up.
Yeah, we Parker and I, you know, we just want to bridge the gap between sim racing and real world racing, and so our first step of doing that was let's put on events on iRacing that if we can, let's try to reach the caliber and the broadcast quality and the money of a real world racing event. You know, we want there to be money on the line. We want there to be prestige on the line. And you know, and we want to broadcast it in a professional manner so that people watch it and they're entertained and they're impressed with it. And then for the competitors, you know, these iRacers, they're real racers. And for these thousands of drivers on iRacing that most of them have never driven a real race car, that doesn't mean they're not racers. And so we want to treat them like real racers. And, you know, hopefully we can build a brand and build a platform where, you know, if you compete in an e-racer event and if you compete at a high level, you're rewarded not just with money and prizes, but you're rewarded with respect and a platform to, you know, promote yourself. So because a lot of them are trying to make their way through some sort of racing rank, whether it's on iRacing itself or, you know, in their Twitch streamers and they want to build an audience, or you have guys like Raja Karuth, who, you know, iRacing is his platform and his proving ground to build his real racing career at Rev Racing and beyond into NASCAR. So, you know, we just want to be a part of building a platform for drivers to accomplish those goals. So we have a huge event coming up, the Carnomaly 500. It's going to be in February, and it's sort of our take on a 500-mile race in Daytona. But we're using an unrestricted version of the COT car on iRacing, and the car goes 230 miles an hour. The tires are blistered after 4 laps.
Nice.
And it's impossible to drive. It's really, really challenging. I mean, think about racing at Daytona where you have to lift and use the brakes like you were at Chicago. And that's what it's like racing in our event. So there's tons of draft down the straightaway. The leader can't get away from the pack, but when you get into the corner, you have to slow down. You have to use the brakes. The car wants to slide up the track, and there's tons of passing. So we have an event structure that can support almost 500 competitors. We have 5 nights of broadcasting, narrowing the field down to 43 drivers, and those 43 drivers are going to race in a 500-mile race with no resets, building their own setups. And for a prize purse of $15,000, it's going to be $3,000 to win. And you know, it's like a decent Saturday night big money short track race.
That's awesome, man. I mean, who would have thought lifting at a super speedway? There's a thought for everybody.
It's really cool, but you know, we're pretty serious about it. We're treating it like it's a professional event. Parker and I have invested very heavily in the broadcast itself. So we're doing the broadcast in-house. We've hired people from the gaming industry that really know what they're doing, and we're building all of the broadcast assets ourselves. All the behind-the-scenes stuff that the viewers will never know about is all, it's all our own IP. So we'll be able to recreate these broadcasts and do more events at an even better quality. And deliver a viewing experience for the fans that really the sport has never seen before. We have an interactive fantasy game tool that we're building, so the viewers are actually going to be involved in the event that we'll be talking about soon. So it's just, we're just trying to break new ground. We're not trying to do, what every other sim racing broadcast has done.
Sure. No, that's awesome, man. That's cool. That's it sounds exciting as all hell, man. That's very cool. I love it. Listen, Landon, we went over here a little bit, but man, tell everyone where they can keep up with you on social media and give some sponsor plugs, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm Landon Cassill on social media. Pretty much Instagram, Twitter, everything. If you know how to spell my last name, then you can find me on social media. And then, and if you want to know more about what we're doing on iRacing, Parker Klickerman and I, it's eracer.gg, but it's ERACR. So we took the E from the middle of the word and moved it to the front of the word.
Love it.
And that there you'll find everything you need to know about iRacing stuff.
That's awesome. Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Landon for calling into the show tonight. Landon, enjoy the rest of the off season if that's possible. Good luck this season. Good luck at Daytona. Good luck with the e-racing series. And definitely look forward to talking to you soon, man.
Thanks, Brandon.
Take care. Lap Traffic Nation, I just love catching up with Landon Cassill. He was like the first big guest to ever be on the show, and that was through one of those retweet or how many retweets to do kind of things. And man, just so awesome. It's so cool that he remembers being on the show a few times, all that kind of stuff. I've talked to him in person at MIS during some of the MIS bonus shows and all that good stuff. Landon Cassill's just been a longtime supporter of the show, which is just so awesome and incredible. I love everything about it. All right, let's slow things down just a minute here. Let's do a little social media stuff. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Follow on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, Instagram and Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. Tell Alexa to play the Lap Traffic Podcast, and she will. Don't forget about the giveaway. 5,500 followers, about 400 away, giving away the Clint Boyer 124 diecast and some Lap Traffic swag and all that good stuff. Thank you all to the retweets and all that. Keep them coming. Tag some people that don't follow the show and all that good stuff. And speaking of some new followers, Lori Brewer at Lori's Brewer, huge NASCAR fan from Texas. Michael Carey at Michael L. Carey, editor at TobyChristie.com. And hey, Front Row Motorsports at team_FRM gave the show a follow, which is freaking awesome. Thank you, guys. Tell your friends and all that good stuff. You guys want stickers and a koozie? Feel free to visit the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Fill out the contact page, and I will send them to you for free. And don't forget about Lap Traffic Fantasy. It's year 5 of the league. It's going to be bigger, better than ever. We've gotten some podcasts that have signed up, close to 100 players in the league. There is still time to go and sign up and play for the full season. You can join anytime, but you want to have the best shot at the playoffs, you got to start early. So picks are going to be due next Thursday for Daytona. That's how close we are. So you got from now till next Thursday to get in for the entire year. Send an email, fantasylaptraffic@gmail.com. Come and play. It's so much fun. And you get a shot to be on the show if you get week high. There's bonus points added this year. Oh, there's just so much going on with Lap Traffic Fantasy. Come and play. All right. Let's see. Let's keep things rolling. We got one more for you guys. Let's get Mr. Michael McDowell on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 4th appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He is the driver of the 34 with Front Row Motorsports. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Michael McDowell. Michael, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you back. It's been a minute, so it's good to get you back on. How's the off season been? How are the holidays? All that good stuff.
Yeah, the off season was good. Yeah, obviously a little different than in years past, just with less travel and kind of less things to do. But it was nice just to stay home and celebrate Christmas with my family and just kind of relax and unwind a little bit. But yeah, everything's gearing back up and ramping back up this week, and I like it. I like having a routine, and I like being busy and having things to do. So, it was nice, but I'm ready to go back to work.
I can only imagine with the schedule, and especially the 2020 schedule, when you guys were going, midweek races and all that kind of stuff, that you guys got to get bored really quick with downtime, because you guys are on the go for 36, 40 weeks of the year, and then just to have it shut down cold, like I'd lose my mind with something like that.
Yeah, for sure. It is tough. And I think too, you're so used to that adrenaline rush that you get from, racing and competing and driving a race car at 200 miles an hour. And so when you go a couple weeks with just kind of sitting around and not doing a whole lot, you miss that adrenaline rush. So yeah, it's definitely a tricky time.
Absolutely. So listen, I saw some tweets out from you and the team, tweeting pictures from, photo shoots for the team and for, I'm imagining Fox and all that kind of stuff. As a driver, like you said, you're used to going 200 miles an hour. When you got to do photo shoots and stuff like that, is that weird for you, or is it just kind of like, it's just something I got to do and I'm going to do it?
It's kind of two parts. For me, I as weird as this sounds, I actually enjoy it. But the reason that I enjoy it is because to me it like signifies that you have another year, another opportunity to win a race. That you've survived, another year in a difficult sport where, it's very easy to come and go and lose your ride. And so for me, it kind of is like one of those things where I'm like, man, another year, still have a job and I have an opportunity to try to go win a race. So I always think about it a little bit differently. I kind of look forward to knowing that I'm going to get to do that. But yeah, it's kind of, you just go through the motions. There's elements that are a little bit mundane, but like I said, just knowing that you have a job and you have an opportunity to do what you love to do, and it makes it, definitely worth it.
I love that perspective. That's great. I love that. We're coming off a unique 2020 season, obviously. Has how 2020 ended up finishing and all that, has that changed off-season prep for you, for the team, or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I think that, the format last year with no practice and no qualifying, was actually a little bit of a benefit for us. And for whatever reason, we kind of dove into that a little bit in the off season, trying to figure out what we did well and what we didn't do well, and what allowed us to have better results during kind of a crazy schedule and a weird time. But with NASCAR, with the next gen car coming, and with the development freezes that they've done and the parts freezes that they've done there in the off season, has really allowed us to catch up and to refine, our cars and make them nicer and cleaner and lighter and better, without having to do major overhauls of design and parts. And usually, they roll out a new car every year, inside the organization with, updated front clips and rear clips and which means you move parts and aero updates. And, the last 2 years, a lot of that has calmed down, which has helped us, I feel like, kind of catch up to the competition, because we could work on details and not be worried about manufacturing parts and pieces as much.
Cool. No, I totally get that. Yeah, I was going to ask you, as far as, the practice and qualifying goes, but you pretty much nailed that there in terms of how that's helped you and the team and all that. Because, I totally get different teams and different drivers have different perspectives on whether or not they want 3 practice sessions in qualifying. And I mean, that makes complete sense there for how that's helped you guys as a organization, which is really cool. All right, so we're coming up to Daytona here in a couple weeks. Some of your best finishes have been at Daytona. You picked up a top 10 last year at the inaugural run at the Daytona Road Course. Potential to have a pretty decent start to the season with some strong momentum. You said you can't wait to get back and going 200 miles an hour. So I'm assuming the momentum and the excitement is just building for you as we get closer to Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what you said, we have the opportunity to really kickstart the season with a couple, opportunity races. And so, with the Daytona 500 being, typically a strong race for us, I mean, you never know, anything can happen, but,
Sure.
Just over a 10-year period, that's probably been one of my best tracks and most top 10s and most, top 5. So I feel like that's a great place for us to challenge, to score a lot of points, get the season kicked off. And then, like you said, the road course last year, Daytona road course, was probably our best race. We did get a top 10, but I think we were running in the top 5 for majority of the race, and kind of took a chance there at the end and took tires on a green white checkered, and that didn't quite play out, but we were able to get back into the top 10. But that was probably one of our strongest races, just from a pure performance and speed. So feel like we got 2 good races right in the beginning, and Homestead was a strong race for us as well too. So
Yeah, 3 in a row. Yeah,
3 in a row is good. And for us, typically those first 5 races, are a challenge. So hopefully we can kick off with some good momentum and just make sure that we make those races count, because they're such big races for us. And then also too, I mean, if we're able to, sneak a win in there and lock ourselves in the playoffs early on, that would be incredible. That would help us prepare for the rest of the year to really focus on when it counts and when it matters.
Absolutely. No, for sure. So we're headed to some new tracks. We got the Bristol Dirt, Coda, Nashville, Road America, the Indy Road Course. Which one or two are you most excited to get to and run some laps on?
Definitely Road America, just because I've had a lot of seat time there, and obviously won my first Xfinity race there. And, just in general, that track's always been really good for me, even prior to NASCAR. So excited about, having an opportunity to go there. I think that probably the next track would be the Indy Road Course. It's not one that I have a lot of experience on, but, I do feel good about, obviously road courses, but, anytime there's something new, I feel like for a road course guy that grew up going to different tracks all across, the nation, growing up running go-karts where you go to a different track every week and travel all over the country, you get used to adapting really quickly.
Sure.
And so I feel like road courses are so, challenging, on their own, and with limited time, I feel like those are good opportunities.
Awesome. I love it. I know the fans are excited about, all these road courses, and I'm excited. Growing up, I wasn't as big of a fan as I've developed into over the last few years. I mean, road courses, those are must-watch weekends for me, and I know a lot of the listeners. So I'm excited that you're excited about them, and I can't wait to see some of these. Hopefully be able to get to a couple for sure.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm very excited about this year. Great to catch up with you. Michael, where can everybody follow you at on social media?
Yeah, so just on all the channels, McDriver on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Got fan pages there. So, yeah, you can stay up to speed, and you can also follow along with the Front Row Motorsports as well.
Awesome. Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Michael McDowell for calling into the show. Hey, man, enjoy the rest of the off season. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good luck at Daytona and the rest of the 2021 season, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Take care. We'll see you. Oh, Lap Traffic Nation, how cool was that? Michael McDowell back on the show to close things out, which is just awesome. Lap Traffic Nation, I'm going to keep it under an hour. How lucky are you guys? That is going to do it for episode 219 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like and follow on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Don't forget about the giveaway. Big thanks to Chip Wile with Daytona International Speedway, Landon Cassill, Michael McDowell. Next week, Jeff Striegel is going to be on to preview Speed Week, the 500, and the 2021 season. Go sign up for Lap Traffic Fantasy. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!